Working session to order, please. Roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Here.
Densberger?
Here.
Jeffers?
Here.
Call?
Here.
Mayor Mingus?
Here.
All present, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. This is a working session. No formal business will be conducted, of course, and we're glad to have our visitors, Marjorie and Tony. I don't know who's going to speak first, but please feel free to go ahead, and thank you for being here tonight. Ladies first.
Yeah, just push a button.
We're here tonight just to talk a little bit about the Tazewell County facility sales tax, which I'm sure you're all aware of. And our purpose tonight is just to be transparent in the information that is being given out to various people within Tazewell County in terms of what the facility sales tax is and isn't. This is informational only, and that's how we emphasize anything that we talk, any groups that we talk to, is that this is an informational only presentation. And so we'll probably have a little back and forth as we go through this, but I think I've met all of you on the council, but if not, I'm Marjorie Gruder. I'm superintendent at the High School District 309.
I think I've met everybody. I'm Tony Ingold. I'm the superintendent for District 86.
So the issue that we're trying to educate people on is the language that's going to be on the ballot regarding the county facility sales tax. And as you can see, the shallow retailer's occupation tax and a service occupation tax, commonly referred to as a sales tax, be imposed in Tazewell County at a rate of 1% to be used exclusively for school facility purposes. This law went into effect in 2007. You were saying earlier today, maybe 2 counties at the time.
In its earliest stages, one, maybe 2 counties had passed it.
We now are at, 51 counties in the state have passed this. Some of the counties around here, Woodford, Peoria, Fulton, Mason, Logan. In fact, if you look at this map, the purple counties are those that are on the ballot for this fall. The green are the counties that have already been through this process and passed the Illinois County School Facility Tax. White has never attempted to pass. Blue has tried to pass, has not passed yet. So you can see McLean and DeWitt County, and really McLean, as far as being adjacent to Tazewell County, is the only county that has not passed the school facility sales tax. And just as the agreement that we have with the city for city sales tax, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, the sales tax, the money that is collected on everything except for the things that are listed here, you know, your large ticket items, boats, RVs, cars, trucks, ATVs, unprepared groceries, medication, and farm equipment and parts. So if it's not currently taxed, this does not add any additional tax to that. And then most important to the school is what these sales tax revenues can be used for. And we're talking about a 1-cent tax, and that's the way it will be on the ballot, as a 1-cent sales tax. Nothing instructionally can this be used for. We can't use it for salaries. We can't use it for buses. We can't use it for textbooks, et cetera. It's just as the city sales tax, it is limited to construction, operations and maintenance, and then we also have an opportunity to use it to refund property taxes to pay existing capital bonds. So feel free to jump in anytime as I'm going through this. I know we're on a kind of limited timeline, so I don't want to pause too much here. If the sales tax were to pass, it's going to be on the ballot November 6th. It would start July 1st of next year being collected. It goes to the Illinois Department of Revenue. They would give it to the Regional Office of Education, and then that sales tax money would be disseminated based on a per pupil basis. So it's based on the enrollment in the district. and then it would be available to schools for their FY '20 budget, their fiscal year '20. It can be used to reduce current property tax rates, and it also can be used to avoid looking at property taxes for funding of projects moving forward. So there's the abatement process, and then there's also the avoidance process, and those are the two different ways that schools can look at this money in addition to using it for facility upgrades or facility buildings, et cetera.
And I think sometimes that's what causes confusion within some of the communities, because you have some of the districts in their communities that are talking about, the property tax avoidance. You have some talking about property tax relief, and I think it's dependent on where they're at within their own districts. If they have some current needs that they're trying to address through facility studies, or they've started the process of looking at planning for facility growth or renovation within their districts, they might be talking more about the avoidance, not having to go forward with a referendum or something else that's going to overburden, property tax, while at the same time, there are others who don't have those projects today, but they may have that need in the future. So their immediate conversations are around property tax relief, but at some point in time, those decisions may be impacted by whatever their needs or facility needs might be in the future. There are some that are talking about splitting the two. Some of it will go towards property tax relief. Some of it may also then go towards, facility needs. And again, it's going to be dependent on, and as Marjorie and I talk, within our two districts, where our needs are today versus maybe where Washington is today and Morton might be. And so, Tremont and some of the other communities, we're all in different spots. And so I think sometimes informationally, it's good to talk about it can be both of those purposes.
Tony, if it is used for property tax reduction, being a P-TEL county, is there an exemption for that?
I don't know that I know the answer to that.
I don't know that I know the answer to that. I know we're still limited with PTEL, but I don't know specifically the impact of the property taxes.
Because if you reduce your rate, you don't get it back, so
Correct.
the reduction portion would be pretty problematic without a P-TEL exemption, basically.
That would be accurate.
Yes, that would be true. And this was probably a really great place to acknowledge that we are in agreement with the city, we do currently and recognize and appreciate the quarter-cent sales tax that we get because of the agreement that we have from the enterprise zone, the TIF districts. Currently, my district from the city is receiving approximately $400,000 a year in the sales tax portion, and yours is?
We're generally a little over 500,000 from that previous agreement.
And that money is earmarked for bond payments. We took out bonds to build the addition on the high school in 2010 and remodel the first floor of A building shortly thereafter. So the money that we receive from the city sales tax goes directly to that. And that was how we avoided having to go out for a referendum to add on to the school facility back in 2010. As you can see on this slide, specific to our two districts, my district, if this county facility sales tax would pass, would receive, it's estimated on a per pupil basis of about $656 a student, $653,034, and District 86, just north of $1 million.
Yeah, just a little bit over $1 million, but we thought, also looking at Robine, Creve Coeur, some of the surrounding districts, what they might garner through that sales tax. Again, everything's based on our student population, and would be dependent from year to year based on growth or slight decline, whatever the case may be.
It's also estimated by the Stiefel,
Yeah.
that helped us with the data with this, that about approximately 30% of the revenue that comes from this 1% would be from people that do not live in Tazewell County. Just as if you were to go and shop in anywhere around us but McLean County, you're paying this tax for the facilities in other counties. That's how Peoria is doing their air conditioning projects and some of the upgrades that you're seeing Peoria schools do, for example.
And so when you look at our previous agreement with the city, you know, we had specific needs that we identified at that time, and I know Marjorie wasn't here, but when we came before the city council, you know, we talked about what those needs are. We presented plans for use of the resources through the intergovernmental agreement with the city. We also had to provide the documentation on our bonding and how that would play out and tie to the funds that we would be receiving through that sales tax. At that time, we had probably two identified needs. We had some growth at Armstrong that we needed to address with regards to classroom space. And then we had some improvements in a kind of what I'll call it a deteriorating building at Central Junior High. And so that allowed us to start on the first phase of that project through that sales tax revenue, not an increase through the property tax. Then we were able to complete the project utilizing grant funds from the state that were approved. We had put in for that in 2002, and we received notification, I believe, 2014, that those funds had been approved. I think that's accurate. Mr. Densberger might know the original grant application, somewhere around that 2002. So it took us almost 12 or 13 years to see that recognized. But that funded the majority of that project to the extent of $17.4 million to allow us to modernize the junior high. Now our needs have changed a little bit, and it's the focus is on our K-5 buildings and the needs that are in there. So what we talked a little bit about is, you know, bigger question is, what do you, if you get the funds, what would you even use them for? Do you have a plan for that? And if you're not talking, you know, property tax relief, but you're talking property tax avoidance, what do you mean by that? And so Marjorie and I both put together just a quick information here. But in my district in '86, we just conducted a facility study that looked at our K2 and our 3-5 facilities. I have 3 K2 buildings and we have 3 3-5 buildings. And so looking at all of those, one of the biggest things that came out of that, and we asked an outside group to come in and give us an independent assessment of those facilities. And they identified air quality and a general modernization of all those facilities. And we also were talking about our ability to expand our pre-K services. You know, right now, you know, we have a couple of classrooms. We really would like to see us be able to grow the services that we can provide to preschool, if at all possible, but we don't have the space to accommodate that. And so we wanted to make sure that we're looking to incorporate some growth in that as well as we look at these facilities. Kinds of things we're talking about, as you can see there, you know, HVAC, fixtures and equipment. We do have some safety and security upgrades that we'd be looking at. We did that at Armstrong. Armstrong was one of my buildings that had its principal's office right in the middle of the building. And so a visitor would be able to travel through the building before they might get met by the principal or the secretary because of their location. That's now at a front location. We did some upgrades to different entrances to some of our buildings, but I have one that when you go into the building, when you enter their main hallway, the gym is right there. And so it still has some accessibility concerns that are problematic for us. We also struggle with ADA compliance. I have a couple of multi-story buildings that don't have elevators and they don't currently have lifts. And so there are certain needs that we feel in a renovation are going to be pretty comprehensive for us to try to address. As we look at all of this, we were given some estimates on what just going in and upgrading all 6 buildings might be versus what it might cost us to literally just go ahead and try to look at some other avenues. So we have looked at other things that might at some point allow us to reduce the number of facilities we currently have within the district. So modernization and maybe cutting down on some of our maintenance costs because we might be able to downsize at some point in time. And that's the process we're in now, putting together concept plans and costs of those. But to give some general ideas based on the configurations that we've been looking at, range everything from 16 million to 30 million. And that ranges from just going in and trying to improve things within our current buildings to additions to certain buildings, possibly looking at closing other buildings, all the way to looking at some kind of one super school concept that would house all. But the reality is where we sit today, we don't have the funds available to finish any of the projects in their entirety. We might have the ability to work on one school, but maybe not the others. And so as you talk about, you know, HVAC and those kinds of things, you know, it's creating a situation where some why did this school get it first? Why does this school get it and these don't when they house the same grade levels? So we're trying to balance those conversations and looking for what are our opportunities to get some funds that may help us support, the next steps that we'd like to take with regards to that. And so obviously, I just listed here what those funds would be used for. We would probably bond similarly to what we did within the city agreement and use those funds to pay towards those bonds.
As far as the high school district is concerned, we have a plan already in process for some facility needs that can't wait to see if this passes or not. So some of these things are happening regardless of the outcome of any type of election. But we are getting ready to go out for bid on air conditioning the high school. We have a 3-story building that in the afternoons on 85-degree days, it's over 100 degrees in the classrooms, which obviously is not ideal. So that is going to happen, but these funds could, as we spread the project over 2 years, these funds could possibly go for that. Another safety issue that we are looking at, we have a wall of windows for our cafeteria where 500 of our students gather twice a day to eat lunch. We need to provide some safety film on those windows, and that is going to be high priority. Our board has already committed to renovating our science labs at about $500,000. Our family and consumer science labs, that's our home ec kitchens, at about $300. We're putting in a new air conditioning system, and the majority of my building is single pane windows. And so no matter how efficient the HVAC system is, we're going to need some new windows. We've had some flooding issues in our band room. Anytime we get a downpour, we have water coming up into the facility. That's been happening for years. Those are actual costs. Well, we've had a study done, and those are actual costs to remediate that. And then always resurfacing of parking lots and replacing roofs, et cetera. We have a $41,000 roof replacement coming up for the entry building into Eastside Center Stadium. And so that's already on the books as well. So once some of these other issues were addressed and paid for, we would consider abating property taxes. But as you can see, our needs far outweigh what we would even receive from the passing of this initiative. But some of these things, like I said, will be happening regardless, and the requirement there is we're paying for them out of our reserves. And so that's a little bit scary in a time when, as we all know, the state of Illinois is not exactly constant on its commitment and funding.
We're going to have to go to questions from council, because there's an audience that has questions as well. So
Okay.
if we may, questions from the council? Questions from the audience?
Well, I have some
Go ahead.
comments, Your Honor.
Go right ahead.
I've spoken with Marjorie about this 2 or 3 times, and I called both Marjorie and Tony last week and discussed it with them. And, I was on the 86 school board, and the conversations as to the Capitol building project that resulted in improvements at Armstrong and the new junior high go back to at least 1998, and they were probably going on when you were on the
That's right.
school board, Mayor. Took a long time to get it done. I was on the school board when it started. I was on the council when we voted to support it, and I will still say today, I think it's one of the proudest moments of this council, and I think it's one of the best things we ever did. A community without strong schools is not a strong community. However, while I think it is that important, as Marjorie just stated, the state of Illinois does not support education as it should. I believe the state constitution says that the state is to provide more than half of the funds for education. They don't do that. Simply does not happen. So this is, in my opinion, another example of the state of Illinois abdicating their responsibility and forcing the funding to the local level. People complain about property taxes, rightfully so. I don't like mine. But really, from a school district standpoint, what choice do you have? There is none. My issue with this is that it's countywide. It will, and again, it's the state not living up to their responsibility, but just in East Peoria's case, I asked Mr. Becker to run some numbers for me. This will generate an estimated $5.3 million a year in non-home rule sales tax to be distributed to schools within the county. As you stated, East Peoria schools, now this is a little bit muddy because District 50 and there are some others that figure into it, but big picture, 1.9 stays in East Peoria, 3.4 goes elsewhere. That's not a good deal for East Peoria. Sales tax, we as a city recently raised ours. I don't think anyone up here was pleased with it. We frankly didn't have a choice. To some extent, you don't have a choice but to try this. But the problem with sales tax is twofold. First of all, internet sales is a factor. This won't be charged on internet sales. If we continue to raise the local sales tax rate, it's going to diminish local sales, certainly not enhance them. And, as I look at, to me, local government, local schools are best when there's local control. Well, to me, local control means that perhaps if communities within Tazewell County, such as Morton and Washington, want to support their schools because they certainly seem to be proud of them. I know we're proud of ours. East Peoria schools, I think, rival theirs quite closely. But if they are that concerned about their schools, let those districts do what 309 and 86 did. Go to their city councils, let their city help their schools to meet their needs. Don't make it our problem. I believe there are two communities in Tazewell County that I think lose in this. Certainly the schools in East Peoria win, but East Peoria, about $3.4 million flows out of our community. I believe Pekin would probably be perhaps not quite as large a number, but it'd be a net loss for them, I'm assuming. I haven't looked at their numbers. But it's the wrong way. It's a big problem, but I think this is the wrong way to solve it.
Other comments, please.
I'll keep mine brief because Commissioner Dansberger and I spoke of this in great length, quite honestly. And I agreed to allow him to be the spokesperson for both of us because I echo those sentiments. Just going to kind of one up, just to make it clear to anyone that's listening, the city has invested roughly $100 million in development. We have a high sales tax in 2 of those districts now. This would increase it to 10.5%. And my fear, quite honestly, is you're going to see a reduction in those coming here to shop, which will adversely affect everything, all the goals it took to get to this point. But I couldn't agree with what he said more. I realize you guys are in a predicament, and the state of Illinois put you there. They put all of us there, quite honestly. There's no sense in sugarcoating it. I don't see a fix, honestly. It really bothers me that here we are again at a local level being forced to do what we have to do to get by. I think it's wrong, but I wholeheartedly agree with what he's already stated.
A couple of questions. Are you, what is Robine's, how much will they be receiving from this if it passes?
100,000.
It was a little over
100,000 something.
300,000?
Where are we
One.
at?
100.
I think it was
You couldn't see the slide when it was up there.
Here we go.
All right. Is there any sunset to this, or is this from here forward?
There is not a sunset to this.
Um,
The agreement with the city sunsets, I believe, in 2028.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I hadn't paid attention to realizing that this was going to be on the ballot this year, or what, if I just missed it. It was a couple days ago that somebody brought it up to me and said that it was going to be on, and then I recognized, I guess it was last week, that this was going to be here. I do recognize that our schools have legitimate needs. I'm in the schools all the time, and I know that study that I know District 86 has looked at recently has looked at combining many of the schools, tearing some down, one mega school or so on, and I know those are all expensive. I understand my colleagues' comments because I was guessing closer to 6 million is what would be collected from the city of East Peoria, and then to my estimate, about 1.75 would be coming back to East Peoria. I would assume that Washington and Morton, that they probably will have a 90% vote toward this. At least that would be my guess. If I lived in those communities, property tax is a big issue for me. I'm not going to speak for or against this. I do understand it. You do have a lot of needs. You do need air conditioning in the buildings. And without this, I don't know how we will pay for it. But I agree, this is a lot of money coming out of the city of East Peoria. And I know that there have been some who have criticized the city of East Peoria for what we've done with our investments. And recognizing that it is a tough pill to swallow. So in a couple of weeks, I guess, we're going to be going to ballot box, and I'm not sure which way I'll go. I do believe these items need to be corrected. I was with you looking at the band room. We have significant drainage problems in that area, and our taxes are high, and that is a complaint from people throughout Central Illinois. When they talk about City of East Peoria's taxes, they are high. If I would be more comfortable with it if there were a property tax abatement alongside of it, but I hear what you're saying, that is the goal. Just you can't guarantee that in the future. So I have to put a lot of thought into it.
Mr. Jeffers, any comments?
Well, I think on paper, we'd be better off, not that we do this, we'd be better off to raise it another half point ourselves and save ourselves a half a point if we could do it locally. And because, as you said, Commissioner Dinsberger, since we have such a strong sales tax base here in East Peoria, I mean, if I lived in an out area county, whatever, and we can name the county areas, those areas will benefit more than we would as far as what it costs them. I mean, it's across the board sales tax increase. But off the slide, Morton is north of $2 million, and our schools with Robine and 86 and 309, they're a consolidated district. We would be about 200,000 less than Morton, and that seems a little odd to me with the numbers, but it's based on numbers. So I guess it's fair in that way, but I guess as Commissioner Dinsberger said, we'll let Morton and Washington do it, and they could take care of a bulk of their students and let us work our issues here locally. And we can't always do that. I mean, I realize the state's mandated much of these costs and things, and I really am appreciative of where we've been since 2007 and 2008, where we were able to see the junior high move on to being rebuilt and the high school addition, and then changes then to the local Armstrong, some additions there. I know your plans for the next phase for building updates, and that is really exhaustive, and to give it justice would take another hour or so if you to really talk about that. I'm pretty much aware of what's going on there, and I think that's the right direction, because it updates your facilities, makes them up to date, but it also makes them more cost effective. And that's what you're trying to do, is make things more cost effective to whereas you invest it. lowers your heating and air cost, it allows you to go some options, you don't lose the school days, and all those good things, but it's a tough decision for people that say that they don't want to be taxed on anything, but I look at it as an investment. So it's up to individuals. The city has nothing in this, other than we have our current agreement with you, and that's up for review at some point. So we'll see what the voters do. I've not really seen a lot of education about this in the press. I guess we're getting down now to the, a couple weeks plus out of the election, and so 3 weeks out. So we'll see how it goes, but wish you well, and I think the information you're giving out is very good. Glad to see it.
Thank you. We're out of time, but if anybody's burning with a question, we want to make sure we answer it. So anybody in the audience want to come forward? Seeing no one come forward, is there a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Commissioner Densberger, second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call, roll call.
Aye.
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 Mayor Mingus.
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Marjorie, Tony did a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Densberger.
Here.
Jeffers.
Here.
Call.
Here.
Mayor Mingus.
Here.
All present, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please stand for the invocation. Remain standing for the pledge.
Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, thank you for the beautiful day we've had here in our city, just a beautiful day in comparison to some of the colder and wet weather we've had recently. And the fall is here, and we enjoy the seasons, but we appreciate the warmth of a sunny day like today. Thank you we can gather and conduct the city's business. Thank you that we can also gather and honor those in our community who serve and raise funds to help those in need, and such a good cause, such many causes actually, but for tonight we do honor those with their work on breast cancer and the fight against that. Thank you now for our time to meet tonight. Pray your will be done. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approve the minutes, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the minutes of the regular meeting held on October 2nd, 2018, and the minutes of the special meeting for a working session held on October 2nd, 2018 be approved as printed.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Decker, discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Decker.
Aye.
Densberger.
Aye.
Jeffers.
Aye.
Call.
Aye.
Mayor Mingus.
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. 2 orders of business as far as communication. First, a proclamation. Whereas East Peoria, Illinois is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas East Peoria, Illinois is a community which encourages citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas East Peoria, Illinois is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas East Peoria, Illinois acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create 575-plus extra mile cities in America, and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2018. Now therefore, I, David W. Mingus, Mayor of the City of East Peoria, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2018 to be Extra Mile Day. I urge each individual in the community to take time on this day to not only go the extra mile in his or her own life, but to also acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, families, community, country, and world a better place to live. I am really happy to read that proclamation because I think our second area of business for communications exemplifies that. And I'll introduce Chief Knapp regarding our contribution. Good to see you, Gal.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to take a quick second here and talk a little bit about a project that we've been very actively working on. Lieutenant Marmot, who, as you've heard the tones in the background a few times, is actually out on a call right now, so unfortunately she can't be right next to me. But this is Gail with Susan G. Komen and the foundation. We, as you're very aware, we've sold a lot of T-shirts. We've been very successful the past few years under the leadership of Lieutenant Marmot in doing that. And wanted to present you a check today in the amount of $1,573 on behalf of the East Peoria Fire Department to you. And again, we're very happy to help. I wish Lieutenant Marmot could be standing next to me right now as well. But all these firefighters in the room are again here to support that.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I just say just one quick word? I just want to thank you so much for what you're doing. This is the third year that you have done this, raising over $3,000, actually much closer to $4,000. And I just want you to know that, that allows us to be able to do things like provide free mammogram screenings for uninsured women, help us supplement people who are, as they're going through treatment, those expenses that we have that aren't covered by insurance. You're away from work, you need help with rent, any of those kinds of things. These kinds of projects are the kinds of things that help us be able to do the things that we do in our community. And it stays, 75% of that stays right here, and the other 25% goes to national research. And Coleman's the largest funder of national research, breast cancer research in the, actually in the world outside of the United States government. So we're very proud of that. We're just short of $1 billion in research, and you are a part of that. So
Thank you so much for what you do. Jill, you going to get a picture there? Got it already? Oh, okay, very good. Jill's going to get it in the
Thank
line.
you.
Danny, you want to be a part of that?
Oh, it's okay, may I read this? It's all right. Thank you.
You want to change real fast?
Yeah, I don't have it with me. Thank you, though.
Sure. Anybody in the audience want to speak to the council on agenda item, come forward. Seeing no one come forward, consent agenda. Commissioner Densberg, we turn it over to you.
Okay. Moving forward, Your Honor. Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a consent agenda consisting of items numbered 1 through 4 as listed on the agenda for this meeting to be considered by omnibus vote.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call. Discussion, roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
Of all present voting, aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
In that case, Mr. Mayor, I move you that the items numbered 1 through 4 listed on the consent agenda be hereby approved and adopted. The items numbered 2 through 4, having been read once by their title and having laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection, be adopted as presented.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call. Discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
Of all present voting, aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Moving forward, Your Honor, I have 3 items this evening. Be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, that resolution number 1819-076, hereto attached, a resolution approving payment for replacement of air conditioning units for Eastport Marina Building be approved, and that this resolution number 1819-076 be accepted on its first reading as read by its title and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner. These air conditioning units on the building down at the marina, that building is under dual ownership between the city and Cullinan Properties. The units were damaged by hail earlier this year, I believe. They are, to quote the memo, vintage 90s. In need of replacement anyway, so between the insurance coverage and the shared expenses with Cullinan, city's layout should be about 36% of it, which is $7,198. Work needs done. They're old units. Ty, anything else?
It's probably the best opportunity to get these units replaced. They are late 1990s vintage, and unlike wine, they are not worth keeping or retaining, so.
Other discussion?
Just want to point out there were actually 3 bids received in Armstrong. The one being recommended here was the lowest bidder.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
Of all present voting, aye, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Next item, Your Honor, be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, that resolution number 1819-077, hereto attached, a resolution authorizing the purchase of 11 desktops, 3 tablets, and associated computer equipment to upgrade outdated computer equipment throughout the city from PTC Select in the amount of $16,087.50 be approved, and that this resolution number 1819-077 be accepted on its first reading as read by its title and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is part of our regular replacement schedule of computer equipment throughout the city. Everyone should have received an email this afternoon that had a correction of a typo in the pricing table. However, the aggregate of $16,087.50 is accurate, and PTC Select was the low bidder. We received one other bid.
Thank you. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger.
Aye.
Jeffers.
Aye.
Call.
Aye.
Mayor Mingus.
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And my final item this evening, Your Honor, be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, that Resolution Number 1819-083, hereto attached, a resolution approving public right-of-way accessibility transition plan for the City of East Peoria be approved, and that this Resolution Number 1819-083 be accepted on its first reading, as read by its title, and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll actually let Ty go through this. This was funded by Tri-County and is a pretty comprehensive study and allows us to do some planning. So, Ty?
That's correct. It was 100% funded by the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission. Patrick Meyer and Associates, if Patrick's in the audience tonight, was our lead consultant. He utilized staff from the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission to do a lot of the data gathering. Essentially, one of the key elements that came out of this was a GIS inventory, a complete GIS inventory of our sidewalks in the city. And it also took a look at the condition of the sidewalks as well as accessible ADA ramps that were a part of that. And so it was a very comprehensive look, and I will mention before I get too much more in the weeds about what it came out with. This has been a study that others are looking to replicate. We know that most recently in a funding round here with the Regional Planning Commission, the Village of Morton also applied for a similar study to be done. It's a great opportunity to be able to have a complete inventory of what's going on in your community to kind of draw those linkages, where you have low-hanging fruit, where you have areas that are completely underserved. The results of the study were such that we took a look at it with the Planning Commission, and their recommendations came back looking at an opportunity to where we can replace existing sidewalks, we should. They really felt that it was wise to put emphasis on underserved neighborhoods. We have neighborhoods in the community like the Richland neighborhood that really do have quite a comprehensive sidewalk inventory. They're just not in very good shape, or you can't see them in some cases. And so in those instances, there's a little more work to be done there to rip out and replace. But that was kind of one of their key recommendations. We did engage other key stakeholders in the community. We worked with the schools, transportation folks. We also spoke with CityLink and tried to identify linkages where those were needed. One of the results of the study is an encouragement to continue to work with the schools to identify those locations. You can think of one example with the high school would be Rosedale Hill. There's sidewalk on one side of it, and it doesn't even go all the way up to the top of the hill there. It has some challenges. You know, certainly those are areas that the schools would be very supportive in looking at opportunities to improve. So long-term, a lot of our emphasis is going to be on the major corridors in East Peoria, and many of those are U.S. and state routes. So we're going to continue to work with IDOT representatives to ensure when there are projects getting done there that we're making sure we're addressing those sidewalk connections, and they're fully aware of our position with these things, that we work with them very closely. Where you have neighborhoods that exist that don't have sidewalks, maybe it doesn't make sense to commit a lot of resources to put those sidewalks in. If you have a very low traffic street, you know, those are areas where maybe it's not quite as awful if people are walking on the side of the street or something like that. But certainly on those higher traffic corridors, we're going to put emphasis on making sure that those are in there. Patrick, any additional items we probably should highlight, or we cover it?
Good job.
I'd welcome any questions about the plan. But it is, as we've done with other plans before, it is just that. It's a plan, it's a guide to take a look at future development, future potential. It's certainly something we'll continue to work with the Public Works Department as we've got streets that are getting redone where there's opportunities to do sidewalks. It makes sense to put them in.
I think it's overdue. I'm glad to see the word sidewalks enter into the equation for the first time in a long time. We have so many that are in absolutely embarrassing shape, quite honestly. And that's a safety issue as well.
Agreed, and this is kind of the first step of that acknowledgement of we've got some poor condition. The next step, obviously, is to start looking at identifying where those are at and where we can allocate resources to take care of them.
Very good. No discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker.
Aye.
Densberger.
Aye.
Jeffers.
Aye.
Call.
Aye.
Mayor Mingus.
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you.
That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Denver. Commissioner Decker.
I have a few items, Mayor. First of all, ordinance number 4416. Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4416 hereto attached, an ordinance providing for the vacation of street right-of-way at the end of Anderson Avenue be accepted on its first reading as read by its title, and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner Call. Anderson Avenue, this runs off of Meadows. At the end of the road, there is a small patch of grass that it is of more benefit to the neighbor or the owner of the property adjacent, and of no benefit to the city of East Peoria. We have, it's been brought to our attention that there are trees, hanging over the property, but it being a vacant property is not something with the, stretched resources that we have, we are too eager to spend a lot of money on. So I'll let Dennis talk a bit about it, about how we were approached and came to this conclusion. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, this is, might have been designed at one point in time to be an alley to connect those streets around. We did maintain enough of the right-of-way area there to still turn around a garbage truck if we so desired to be able to do that at the end of the street. For the most part, the residents that are there are already utilizing this property to park on, so that they don't only have one space for on-street parking. So it's kind of the benefit of these residents to allow them to take it on. I think Ty was involved in part of this. Anything else you want to add?
I think these are good opportunities when they're either presented to us or as we identify areas. Right now, we're working with our GIS coordinator as well as our residential inspector and trying to identify other areas where we've got this excess property. I'd much rather see this if there's no public benefit for it. It's better to be in private hands and deal with the maintenance that way and put it on the tax rolls, quite frankly.
That's right.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Next, Mayor, Resolution Number 1819-074. Be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, that Resolution Number 1819-074 hereto attached, a resolution authorizing the purchase a replacement automated arm on solid waste truck number 42 in the amount of $15,026.29 be approved, and that this resolution number 1819-074 be accepted on its first reading as read by its title, be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Densberger.
Thank you, Commissioner Densberger. Obviously, this is, our garbage runs every day except for Saturday and Sunday. This is one of the automated arms that help us, that reaches out, grabs a hold of the can, and dumps it for us. I think a new one would cost about $5,000 more. Is that correct, Dennis? I'll let you speak as well. Kind of looking forward to getting this done as well, especially as we get closer to the date that mandatory toters for recycling.
Yeah, that is correct. A new arm is close to $21,000. This is actually a remanufactured arm. It allows us to take it out of service for less time to be able to do a replacement. This current arm, we have 2 trucks that are 2015. One we've already rebuilt on an emergency basis. This allows us to basically perform preventative maintenance to keep this one online while we need to. This truck's got over 750,000 cycles on that arm. Before
What's the
having to have
typical
maintenance.
expectancy, just out of curiosity?
I don't have an answer. I know they're expecting around that number, which is kind of why we're looking to say, hey, we need to go ahead and do this one. We know we've already had one fail. This is the same year truck, same design, everything's the same. If we don't proactively do it, and Commissioner Decker spoke to as well, before we get into our mandatory toter system for the recycling, which is next year, we need to be able to do this while we can utilize the arm truck that we have as a backup so that we don't slow up our procedures while we got it, before that truck becomes into front line for that recycling purposes.
Very good.
It's a pretty good deal, too, where you highlight that this is a remanufactured arm versus a new. And so by doing this proactively, you can go with the reman and take advantage of that price savings and get the same amount of life really out of the reman versus a brand new. So.
Correct, and they have quoted us an additional close to $3,000 for core refunds. They won't know what they're going to actually give us until they receive our arm that we send them back and they inspect it back. So of this 15, we could potentially see $3,000 coming back to
Yeah.
us as far as court charges. So this could go down as low as 12. I didn't want to include it because we don't know exactly what we're going to get, but I just wanted to state it in the memo so that we knew it's coming back to us on the other end.
It's hydraulics and it's control units as well, so it's very typical. It's a nice way to get it done and get it fixed right.
Other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting, aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
And last, Mayor, resolution number 1819-081, be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, that resolution number 1819-081 hereto attached, a resolution approving a right-of-way use agreement with Sprint Communications Company be approved, and that this resolution number 1819-081 be accepted on its first reading as read by its title, and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner Call. With every time we have a business that utilizes our right-of-way, we have to have an agreement with them. Our previous agreement was for 20 years, and I believe this one is a 10-year franchise agreement. Not real important, but I do want to look at in the future with some of our utility companies, if it's ever needed that they have to, I guess, dig up the road. We need to start looking at some sort of a surcharge. We've spoken about this with Dennis, with our department in the past, because if you'll notice in areas of our town where our roads are declining, oftentimes you'll see that they are declining around like patched areas. So a different topic, but I thought of it when I was reading this.
Thank you. Other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting, aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
That's all I have right now, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Commissioner Jeffers.
I have 2 items tonight, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 1819-075. Be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, that resolution number 1819-075, hereto attached, a resolution approving amendment to engineering services contract for construction phase of the city's sanitary sewer system upgrade project be approved, and that this resolution number 1819-075 be accepted on its first reading as read by its title and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner Call. This is, I think, the last piece of the required paperwork for wastewater rebuild, expansion, I shouldn't say expansion, rebuild, and some expansion project that we have. This is part of our planned budget process, in that this is the, we've gone through the design phase, the engineering drawing phase with Farnsworth. We earlier did a peer review of the engineering drawings for us to verify and solidify the design of Farnsworth as far as their approach. We've worked with Farnsworth for better than 15 years on this project, I think, or maybe longer. We have a couple representatives here from Farnsworth. But this is to actually manage the construction, mostly the construction phase of this project. It'll go over several years. And so the city does not have the means to hire the team to oversee a project this large, and we'll have several phases going on at once. So Dennis, you might just comment, it's in a resolution, but you might want to comment what this really entails. It's over $3 million, so.
Yeah, this project kind of has been budgeted all along. It's been included in the numbers in the giant spreadsheet on this project. The timing of this becomes important. If we want to get reimbursed from our loan funds, we need to have this in place before we apply for our loan. And we are very close to being at that loan application stage. We were expecting to be out to bid mid-October and all of November. It's probably going to be November and part of December, which is about a 15-day, maybe a little longer delay. Not going to cause any issues. Our main goal is to get it yet bid this fall so that it's ready for construction of next year. That's where the biggest piece of this is. They help us along with the bidding and negotiating phase with us getting our general contractor, as well as being able to manage any problems or things that come up, the change orders and whatnot. This gives the person on site to be able to deal with those at that level, and be able to put this farther forward so that we don't have to expenditure all of our time to all of us be down there trying to monitor this, and that be our only task on our plate. So, and as part of the budgeting piece, like I said, this if we don't get through this piece of it now, the loan would be approved, and then we would be coming out of pocket with these funds as opposed to being able to get reimbursed through the loan process, through the IEPA loan.
Yeah, the loan we're looking at will be less than 2%. If we go out on our own, apart from that process, we're probably doubling that, this ballpark. But this is a qualifications type bid, if you will, that we select based on the qualifications of the company providing the services. And these costs are actually approved costs for this type of program, regardless really of who your supplier is. That's my understanding way we do it, whether it's road engineering or legal or therefore. So it is a bid, but it's also a sole source bid. In this case with Farnsworth, we've validated their qualifications, and this is our recommendation.
Thank you. Other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
And on the other side of the spectrum, this next resolution, Mr. Mayor, be resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, that resolution number 1819-078, hereto attached a resolution approving an invoice from G.A. Rich and Sons, Inc. for an emergency trunk line sewer repair behind Season Drive in the amount of $14,422.37 be approved, and that this resolution number 1819-078 be accepted on its first reading as read by its title and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner Call. We have emergencies from time to time. We had an erosion issue behind Season Drive. It washed out the support for one of our wastewater lines, and as a result, it ruptured. When those things happen, we are required to notify the EPA that we have a problem. At the same time, we are also required to fix it as soon as possible, as you can imagine. And so this was an emergency repair. We have several contractors that we can contact and do and see who can get to it right then. And J. Rich is a company we've dealt with much over the years. And so this expense is was to repair that emergency repair for that trunk line. And it actually, they took care of it pretty quick. It's a quarter mile off the main road. You got to get back into there, and it's in a out-of-the-way place. This is just not like a water main break on your street that we can do ourselves. We just didn't have the manpower to get back in there and get it done. So that's our repair.
Very good. Other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you.
That's all, Mr. Mayor, at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Jeffers. Commissioner Call.
Two items this evening, sir. Resolution number 1819-080. Be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, the resolution number 1819-080, hereto attached a resolution approving the purchase of a new ambulance chassis for the fire department from Aero Manufacturing, Inc., in the amount of $67,597.20 be approved, and that this resolution number 1819-080 be accepted on its first reading as read by its title and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection. Thank you, Commissioner Densberger. As we did a few years back, we found it more cost productive to go with a rebuilt, a refurbished ambulance than purchasing new. This is going to be spread out no differently than the last one we purchased over 2 budget years, if you will. This will purchase the Dodge Ram 5500 diesel 4x4 chassis. It was included in this year's budget, and this is the down payment to begin the process.
Other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, resolution number 1819-082. Whereas recent amendments to the Emergency Telephone System Act 50 ILCS 750 mandate that the consolidation of the currently existing 4 911 dispatch centers serving Tazewell County be down to down to 2 dispatch centers, consolidation mandate. And whereas the City Council has previously approved an intergovernmental agreement, the agreement, with Pekin, Washington, Morton, Tazewell County, the Tazewell County Sheriff's Office, and the Tazewell County Emergency Telephone Systems Board, the parties, in accordance with the consolidation mandate, and whereas under the terms of the agreement, the parties agreed to work cooperatively to establish an intergovernmental agreement named TC3 for the purpose of providing 911 dispatch services in Tazewell County. And whereas the agreement provides that TC3 is to be governed by a governance board and that daily operations of TC3 are to be managed by an operations committee. And whereas the agreement further provides that the governance board and operations committee are each to be comprised of representatives of municipalities affected by the consolidation mandate. And whereas pursuant to the agreement and the bylaws attached as Exhibit B thereto, the City of East Peoria has 2 seats on the governance board and 2 seats on the operations committee. And whereas the city administrator was previously appointed to the governance board but is no longer with the city. And whereas the city administrator's departure leaves the city with an open seat on the governance board. And whereas, consistent with the mayor's recommendation, the city desires to appoint Fire Chief John Knapp as one of the city's representatives on the TC3 Governance Board to fill the vacancy created by the city administrator's departure from the city. And whereas, as Fire Chief John Knapp was one of the city's representatives appointed to the Operations Committee, his appointment to the Governance Board creates a vacancy for the city on the Operations Committee. And whereas, consistent with the mayor's recommendation, the city desires to appoint Deputy Fire Chief Ryan Beck as one of the city's representatives on the TC3 Operations Committee to fill the vacancy created by Fire Chief Knapp's appointment to the Governance Board. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Tazewell County, Illinois, that Fire Chief John Knapp is hereby appointed as one of the city's representatives on the TC3 Governance Board, and Deputy Fire Chief Ryan Beck is hereby appointed as one of the city's representatives on the TC3 Operations Committee. Mr. Mayor, I move you that resolution number 1819-082 be adopted as presented.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Densberger.
Wow. That was a whole lot to tell you that City Administrator Eater, as everybody is aware, is no longer with the city, therefore vacating a seat on the governance board. Chief Knapp is on the operations side. He's going to bump up to the governance board, and Deputy Chief Ryan Beck will take his spot on the operations committee. A lot of work at hand and in progress.
And we thank both of them for agreeing to serve.
Absolutely.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Call.
Sir, that's it.
Public comments from the audience on a non-agenda item. Anybody want to make those comments? Please come forward. Belinda, good to see you.
I just want to announce that we will be holding a hiring event November 1st, and it'll be actually in this room. Its intended audience is for Richland, though if somebody comes in, I'm sure we won't turn them away. We have employers locally here that will be coming and look to have probably 10 employers, and
Good.
hope to have a lot of attendees.
Good,
What are the
very good.
times, Belinda?
The hiring fair is 5 to 7. We are having a workshop before that, a week before, which is the 25th, here as well, and that'll be 4 to 6.
Great job.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Bob?
No complaints. I just want to thank the guys on the street department for the repair down there on the corner of Cass and Center. Just walking past, looks pretty good. The only problem I can see is if we can just keep the drag racers from tearing the corner out. But thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your comments, Bob. Anybody else? Comments from the council. Commissioner Decker.
Yes, Mayor. Tonight is there is an honor flight going on. And I know I spoke about this last week, or last council meeting, because I had been on the honor flight the week before. This one tonight will be the last of the year, and it is supposed to have been specifically for like Spalding area, but just trying to fill the seats, they expanded it quite a bit. The reason why I wanted to bring it up tonight is there are a couple folks from the fire department that are on it, and once again, doing a great job. I am working tonight, going back into work, but if anybody is watching this and able to go out there and cheer them on when they come in, it really means a lot to the veterans that come back and finally get the recognition that they deserve, that they should have gotten years ago.
Thank you. Mr. Densberger.
Your Honor, just to follow up on a comment I made during the working session with the schools. As I said, the state of Illinois is, I believe, constitutionally bound to fund 51% of education costs in Illinois. I was talking with the superintendents afterward. This actually, funding of our schools is about 70% local. Federal is between 5 and 10%, and the state pays the rest. I don't think that adds up to 50%. I'll let it go at that.
Well said, and your comments were greatly appreciated today during the working session, too. Commissioner Jeffers.
Nothing, Your Honor, tonight.
Mr. Call.
Just want to point out, I know Belinda stood up and talked about this hiring event, but I think it's important to give people credit where credit's due. That whole program, and I'm going to name them because these people do a lot of work in this community that goes unnoticed because they care. Neighborhood House, Southside Office of Concern, Central Illinois Bank, Ameren, United Way, and Community Foundation of Central Illinois are the ones that are making that job fair she spoke to possible. So I want to give them kudos. We appreciate what they do in our community. I'm going to cringe when I say this, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't share it. Open fall burning began October 15th, yesterday, and it runs through November 30th. As I always do when I talk about this topic, I ask people, first of all, do it within the guidelines. The rules are clearly stated. It doesn't mean throw out your tar cans, throw out your used tires. It's for dry landscape waste only. Dry. It needs to be attended at all times. You can't leave it smoldering through the neighborhood at night. Be mindful of your neighbors. You know, we've allowed this to continue in this city. It's quite a contentious subject, if you will, and it's that way because most people tend to abuse the guidelines. Don't abuse it. It can go away as quick as it came here. So I just, not threatening, just please be mindful when you do it and adhere to the guidelines. November 3rd, the 6th annual Teresa Tracy Trot is going to be held down on the riverfront. Just want to point that out. It's a all-volunteer organization. It's a great event, well-attended every year. And all those proceeds that are raised through that event are donated locally to two organizations that fight pancreatic cancer. So very important, dear to my heart, and I just want to give them a shout out because the event's coming up.
Very good. My comment on the memorial yesterday, too.
Yeah, that was with firefighters.
Very good.
Yeah, that was an excellent memorial. Congratulations to firefighter April Hustetler. I know I'm not going to say it right. Anyway, she's a fire department employee of the year, and it's well deserved. She does a lot throughout the community, and congratulations to her. Congratulations to Jill Peterson. She does a lot, not just for the fire department, quite honestly, for multiple departments in the city. She was recognized at the memorial service as well, so appreciate it.
Deserves it. Very good. Motion to adjourn, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn until Tuesday evening, November 6th, 2018 at 6 p.m.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Thank you, Jeff.
Aye.
Mayor Migas?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. We are adjourned.